building a Lapa or building a Boma, you won't be able to do that. Pools in particular at Madison Manor at Waterfall is a unique situation. It boils down to the water management, and very often in sectional title schemes, the levy also covers your water. So then if you have a pool, you need to top up that pool, you need to fill it up, and it's unfair to expect of your neighbors to pay for the water in your pool, your private pool, and only you have the benefit of it. In our situation at Madison Manor at Waterfall, the water is billed on a prepaid situation. So then you are able to build a pool. There is just a special agreement that you will enter into the body corporate that the maintenance of your pool will not be covered by the levies. You will be responsible for the maintenance of your own private pool yourself. In the estate, there is a communal pool. So in your levies, you pay towards the maintenance of that communal pool and clubhouse and jungle gyms. But the one that you build in your yard, that maintenance will then come down on you yourself.
Sounds good. Rime, you've got the mic now, so please do ask your question. After that, we'll go to Yolanda's question. And she would like to know whether you pay levies immediately after buying the land or when you are done building. And that will go to Sean. So Rime, please take the mic.
Hello, Nicole. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hello, guys. My name is Ryan Flick, actually. It's not Rime.
Askis.
No problem. So I wanted to ask, Marias, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I wanted to ask you guys, if you're just like a guy from the townships and you have a dream of having a mansion, but you don't have money and you don't have anything, but you want to buy a mansion, and how much money should you have or should you start making to buy a mansion?
Well, that's the beauty of our banking system in South Africa. If your monthly salary, well, let's start, in the past, in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, if you didn't have all of the cash in hand, you couldn't buy land. And then in the 70s, the modern banking system started taking off in South Africa, and now you don't have to save up for 10 or 20 years before you're able to buy a house. You can now, based on your salary and your good credit record, approach a bank for a home loan. So, for example, at Madison Manor at Waterfall, to buy my houses, that the prices start at $2,495,000. That's for a freestanding 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with a double garage and a private yard. Your monthly salary must be at least 55,000 Rand a month or more. That's the first criteria. The second criteria is the bank is going to scrutinize your conduct of how have you been conducting your finances. So they're going to look at your bank statement. They're going to see what expenses you have got, and they're going to do your credit check. So they want to see that you have been paying your Edgar's account faithfully, and your other debts that you might have. And then if you meet those criteria, then there's a very good chance that you will get a loan. And at Cradle Ridge, many clients have managed to secure 100% home loans. And so with my development at Waterfall, many clients have managed to secure 100% home loan. So it's your income must be verified, your credit check must check out, and your monthly expenses must be low enough so that you can actually afford the monthly repayment. So first thing, at least your income must be 55,000 Rand a month or more. And then after you've paid all your expenses, there must be at least 25,000 Rand surplus. 20 to 25,000 Rand surplus, so that you can pay the home loan, you can pay the levies, and you can pay the rates. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. So basically, you need to have good credit and you need to have a salary of 55,000 per month, right?
Exactly. And then they do look at your history. I mean, if you're living in a community, you know that neighbor of yours, you can't lend him anything. That bugger is never going to bring it back. And now the banks have implemented a system like that in the form of the credit bureau. So TransUnion and Experian, they keep track of the way that you are paying your cell phone account and your DSTV subscription and all of these things. And if you pay those accounts faithfully, then you build up a history so that you have a reputation. And the bank will look at your reputation, and based on that, they will make a decision whether or not they will lend you the money. And that also influences the interest rate that they will give you. So it is important to pay your accounts faithfully and properly, and then that good credit record, that good reputation that you build on that database will serve you well in the future.
That is clear, Maria.
Thank you so much. Vandermoor, you'll speak next. I just want to get Sean to answer Yolanda's question about when do you start paying levies? Do you start paying levies immediately after you buy the land or when you are done building? Sean?
Yolanda, morning. So basically, levies is payable from registration. So as soon as you go through the building or the purchase process, the levies are not payable. It will only be from registration. Then they will invoice you for the levies, which is 1,500 rand. So basically, the reason for that is because security is up and running. The boundary wall, the street lights, stuff like that, the maintenance and upkeeping of the communal areas, the roads and stuff like that, that has to continue. So that's why levies are payable from registration.
All right. Thank you so much, Sean. Yolanda, I hope that you have been answered. The next question I just want to quickly get Sean to answer is coming in from @X98091519. It's a big name. Says, hi, Nicolette, may you please ask your guests if you are allowed to bring your own builders? So, Sean? They can bring their own builder?
They can definitely bring their own builder. The thing is just, I want to ask people to do the homework. Make sure, don't go and choose a builder that's going to charge you 5,000 rand per square meter just because you want to do it, build cheaper. The banks also, I think the criteria at the moment, you can't have a builder that builds for less than 7,500 rand because it's impossible with the steel prices and building costs and stuff like that. So you can choose your own builder. They must just be NSB or C registered. And also the plans that builder or the architect submits, it does go to our HOA and our architect for scrutiny. So obviously there we will also scrutinize the plans to make sure, they do adhere to the architectural guidelines. But yes, there is a few clients in Cradle Ridge Estate that has used their own builders. So that's definitely doable.
While you're on that conversation, Sean, and I'll come to you, Boitumelo. There's a question from Boitumelo, and then, of course, Vandermoor, and then Sabelo. You mentioned something about steel prices going up. Now, we've seen steel prices definitely go up. So if I, for instance, got quoted, let's say 3 months ago, and the steel prices change in between that 3 months, now all of a sudden my cost needs to be pushed up. How do I work around that? How do I maneuver that situation?
So basically, when you do sign a building contract with one of the builders on our panel, obviously, I think they've already calculated to make sure, that if the steel price does go up, that is already forms part of that building contract you've signed and the amount you agreed to. So he won't build in 3 months' time, he's going to say, now you must pay me 300,000 rand. You've agreed to a certain amount. As well, it's the same as when you purchase the land. Let's say, for example, you purchase it for 1 million rand, but in 3 months' time, we up the price to 1.2. We're not going to ask you as a client to pay us now additional 200,000 rand. That was the price that was agreed to. But the builders already, they foresee the future and they know more or less how much the steel price will go up by. So they already saw that out when you sign the building contract to make sure that all the costs will cover if there's any increases in any building materials.
Did you guys have any issues when we went into a lockdown?
Look, with lockdown, we were not on site, but even though it was lockdown, there were still prices that went up. But also the builders also, maybe twice a year, we've seen from 2019, the prices did go up a bit, but not by too much. Our builders and our panel doesn't want to get rich overnight, if I can put it like that. So they have up the prices a bit just to be current with the building material cost at the moment. But yeah, with in lockdown, we used to develop interest where a lot of people couldn't qualify. After lockdown, we've seen a massive increase in sales on our side specifically because people can afford it now. So definitely that's why we've been so successful.
All right. Let's get Vandermoor, are you still with us? Please take the stage if you are. If not, I will ask Sabelo to unmute and you can definitely take the stage.
Good morning, Nicolette, and good morning, Marius. Since Vandermoor is out, I have 3 questions for you, Nicolette and Marius. Number 1, can I buy the land at the moment and then get my title deed, and then in a space of 2 years and decide to sell the land? And number 2, how much money will I have accumulated in a space of 2 years? And the third question is based to you, Nicolette, is if I buy in a town, not actually in a town, in a town, if I buy a house which is an old house and rehab it, is it a best advice to do that move? Thank you.
All right. I think we can let Marius, just before you go, can I just quickly get Sean to answer the question on the land? And in fact, I'm going to take my question and give it to you, Marius, to answer about refurbing an old house. So just give me 2 seconds, Marius, so I can get Sean to answer the question on the land and the appreciation of it.
Absolutely.
Good morning. So basically, when you buy land at Cradle Ridge Estate, our architectural guidelines stipulate that from registration, you can't sell that land within the next 2 years. And the reason for that is we don't want people to just buy land to think they're going to make a quick buck, and get an additional 300,000 rand. So we want to give everyone a fair chance to be able to buy from us as a developer at the prices set out. We're not here to make money. For us, it is improving lives and creating dreams and making dreams a reality and possible. Hence, we don't allow people to buy land and to sell it within 2 years after registration.
All right. Marius, can you please jump in on the question about whether it's a good investment to buy a house that you can refurb?
That is an excellent business model. Buying a house that is run down, you just need to take into consideration there are some costs. So if you go into the suburbs, you buy a rundown house, you will have to pay transfer costs and transfer duty to get it into your name. And then you will have to have a bit of cash. I would say, sure, not less than about 500,000 rand to really refurbish that house properly. And then you need to know your market well in that area to determine, after you've calculated your initial purchase price, transfer costs, and the revamp costs, that your eventual selling price is going to give you a nice enough profit. But it is an excellent business model. It is a business model that I follow, and I have friends and colleagues that do that. The beauty of that is that when you buy that rundown house, there is already an occupation certificate. There is already an NHBRC certificate way back when the house was built originally. So you, as the revamper, won't have to go and get electricity connected. You don't have to get water connected. You don't have to get plans approved if you're not going to add on to the house. Obviously, if you're going to build onto the house or install a pool, you do need to go to the municipality. But if you're just going to do cosmetic upgrades and getting the house nice into the new century, it is an excellent business model. But you will just have to carefully do your math to make sure that the area that you buy that house in, after you've laid out that cash, that selling price that you want to achieve later on is still within the market price of a similar house in that suburb. But yes, it's an excellent way of doing business. We do it in our personal capacity as well. So it's definitely something that you can consider.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Marius, for that. I'm hoping that you have been answered, Sabelo.
Thank you very much. I'm answered. One last question with regards to the municipal rates. If the house has run down, is it possible that I will find the municipal rates high? Maybe it ran down from 2019 till to date. Is it possible that I'll find the bill maybe at 50,000 rand or 60,000 rand in a course of 2019 till now?
So the municipality do their rates calculation based on the value of the house, but they don't physically drive out to the house to look at the condition of the house. They don't look at the finishing that's in the house. They don't look at whether the roof is leaking or not. They physically don't come to the house and do an inspection. So the monthly rate, that calculation of the value, is based on a similar house in that area. So it's not an exact science as far as the municipality goes. Usually, the municipality's valuation is lower than the market price, the market price of that house. They work a little differently. They actually benefit the public in most instances, in that their valuation tends to be lower than the real value. So I wouldn't use the municipality valuation as a guideline on the real value of that house. I don't know if that answers your question, Sabelo.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm answered. I really appreciate it, Nicolette Mashile, as I'm your big fan and I'm up and coming. I'm still young. This will be my first purchase next year. Wish me all the best.
Definitely, we wish you all the best, Sabelo. Well done, and congratulations on your purchase that you're going to be making. It's quite exciting to see young people really understanding how important property is as an asset. We've got a question quickly for Sean. Then I'll come back to, I think it's HRH QM Larato. We'll come back to you just now. We've got a question coming in from Tumi on the DMs. She says, hi, Nicolette. Quick question for Sean. Is there a holding deposit to secure the land, and how much is it?
Dumela Tumi, thank you for joining us. So when you purchase a land from us, we do normally require 10% deposit of the stand. So let's say, for example, you buy the stand of 815,000. We normally require 81,500, which is 10%. We've had instances where clients couldn't pay the full 10%. So then you can just speak to me as marketing manager. We can lower that amount, but we do require a holding deposit. Otherwise, we're just going to get the influx of people coming to buy stands without deposits, and we keep stands out of the market. We want people that's serious to be able to buy the stands and then choose a building package. So yeah, we definitely do require 10% deposit, but like I said, if you can't pay that, speak to me and we can arrange something for you. I hope that answers your question.
All right, and then Sheki Songwane, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. If I'm not, I do apologize. You want to know, can I register on their database as an estate architect?
So basically, with our other developments, we've got a architect that does all the designs. It's only at Cradle Ridge Estate where we have a panel of architects. Unfortunately, in the beginning of the project, we've already allocated a limited space for builders and architects, and that's are the people that we are working for. Because we're almost sold out, I can't allow any more builders and architects on the panel.
All right, thank you so much, Sean. Let's quickly go to Larato, HRH Larato. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you, Nicolette, for for giving me a chance. I just quickly have a question about consolidating. A lot of people are buying stands and want to build mansions on them. So a lot of people don't know about the how big the land is. So I just want Sean to explain the consolidating process of like buying two stands, like the levies. How are the levies going to play out? How big the land is going to become? Like, just to how big the house can be plotted on that stand. So thank you, Nicolette.
Thank you very much, Lerato. Let's get Sean to answer that.
Thank you for joining us. That is an excellent question. So, buy 2 or 3 stands and consolidate. We've already had people in the state that bought 2 or more stands to consolidate, and that enables them to buy a bigger house. The thing is, when you do buy 2 or more stands next to each other to consolidate, your levies will then be per stand. So if you buy 2 stands next to each other to consolidate, instead of paying 1,500, now you'll be paying 3,000 rand. And the same with rates and taxes. The thing is, to consolidate stands, if you sell one day, you can't then break up those 2 or 3 stands. You have to sell it as a whole. So the new owner then will also pay 2 levies instead of 1 and 2 rates and taxes instead of 1. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, Sean.
I think it definitely. Thank you. Just before I let Van der Moor, we're going to try again. We've got a question, as a follow-up question to somebody's question coming in from X. He wants to know, if I bought a stand with no intention to resell it, because the rules clearly state that you cannot, but the financial circumstances of that client change and they can no longer afford to build or even the upkeep of the stand, what would need to happen?
So basically, if a client gets to that situation where they can't afford the levies and rates and taxes, you can then request from the HOA or from the developers for a request for permission to sell the property or the stand. So that's definitely possible. We just, like I said, we just don't want everyone to just come buy stands and then think they can make a quick 100, 150, 200,000 rand. So if you get to that stage where you can't afford the stand anymore, come and speak to us, speak to the HOA if we're not involved anymore, and I'm sure they will then accept that request to sell the stand.
Definitely. I think it makes no sense for anybody to be punitive in a situation where you really cannot afford. I'm going to take, let's say, 3 more questions. I think Van der Moor, Ron, and Rory Sang, simply because we need to obviously finish this conversation. But more than anything, I just want Marius and Sean to start thinking about this question. And the question would be, how do I get into property? Because I think a lot of people want to get into property. It's a difficult one because we don't all have the privilege of the money. We don't all have the privilege of getting financing from the bank. How do I start on the property ladder so that I can have a portfolio of property as an asset? But please hold that. So think about that one. We'll go to Kimang. The gentleman is gone now. How about him? Okay, gentleman is gone. It's all right. We'll ask maybe Sean to answer this question. The question that came through was, what are your tips for a first-time buyer?
So basically, do your homework. Make sure that the developer you're buying from has a reputable history, that they've been in the market for long, and go and do your homework. These days, people complain about everything, hello Peter, whatever. Go and make sure, they are a well-set developer and they've got a good track record. So myself and Marius, we've been with the company for long, and you can go onto our website, Central Developments. We've got many developments that you can choose from. We're also not agents, so sometimes buying from a developer, there's agents involved. We're with us as Central Developments, we do everything in-house. So you do not buy from an agent. They do not need to lie to a client to buy the property. We will advise you best possible, and also according to your needs and your budget, we will advise, will it be affordable, or if you can't buy Cradle Ridge, for example, which one of our other developments will suit your need best.
Right. And Marius, just coming in, let's have a conversation around what are the benefits of buying from a developer. I think Sean just kind of started and scraped the surface, but what are some of the benefits of buying directly from a developer?
So buying directly from a developer has the benefit that you don't have to pay transfer costs, you don't have to pay transfer duty, and you don't have to pay bond registration costs. Now, to put that into perspective, for example, at my development, that property of 2,495,000, those costs would have been about 170,000 rand. So if you were buying an existing house from a private individual, you would have had to pay that 170,000 rand out of your pocket. The bank will not finance that. When you buy from a developer, those costs are already included in the purchase price. That's the one benefit. You save on the initial input costs. The other advantage is in the cost of ownership of the property. When you buy directly from a developer, that is a new house. It's going to be a good couple of years that house is in a good condition. You will not have expenses as far as maintenance goes. So that is the second layer of saving. The third layer of saving is the energy efficiency criteria that applies to new buildings now, that has been built in the last 5 years, and that applies to new buildings being built going forward, is a lot stricter than, I would say, 8 or 10 years ago. So a house that's built today is in a different league than a house that's 10 years old. It's a lot more energy efficient in terms of the insulation in the ceiling, the size of the window calculations, the orientation of the house to face the sun or away from the sun, so that you can save on energy on the house. So your monthly expenses towards your electricity and water is lower. Your monthly expenses towards maintenance is much lower on a new house, and on your purchase price, you've saved a lot.
All right, thank you so much, Marius. Yes, thank you so much. We've got another question coming in for Sean. Stay would like to know how many square meters is a stand?
Hi, Stay. So the stands available at Cradle Ridge Estate at the moment. So we've got 34 stands left out of 167 that are selling fast. The smallest stand you can purchase is 405 square meters. They sell for 815,000 Rand. And the biggest stands we still have available is 630 square meters. They are situated up against a mountain. They are a bit more expensive because of locality. They sell for 1,095,000 Rand.
All right, thank you so much. I hope that you've been answered. Stay. Just a reminder, guys, Cradle Ridge is currently right now having an open day, so you can come through both Cradle Ridge and Madison Manor at Waterfall. Cradle Ridge is, as you drive up and you pass the casino, don't make a stop at the casino. Pass the casino, and as you just go up, you'll literally see on the mountain some of the most beautiful houses that you'll ever see. And then if you are going towards the Madison Manor area, you literally, as you pass Mall of Africa, first robot, second robot, you turn right there, and you will be able to see the signage from Central Developments that will show you where Madison Manor at Waterfall is. Here's another question we've got from Spigwe. He'd like to know, I want to purchase 5 houses and make them rental homes. Is that a good move? Marius?
Absolutely. That is property ownership is the cornerstone of wealth creation, and buying those houses and renting them out, the critical thing here is if you can manage it properly and you do your work by the book, so you credit vet your tenants properly, you scrutinize their bank statements, much like a bank would for a new home loan application. If you almost go through the similar process and you do an in-inspection and you have a written lease agreement, your risk in that scenario is reduced a lot. And absolutely, Sean and myself both, we've invested in property. We, in our personal capacity, we have tenants renting from us, and as a company, we also apply that. There's instances, a lot of our developments we do not sell, so we build them and we just put tenants in there. It is really a powerful wealth creation vehicle, but there you do need to equip yourself. There's a couple of basics. It's not rocket science, but there are a couple of critical basics that you can just employ. In my opinion, I don't invest with financial institutions because I understand property. I invest in property. This is not financial advice for you. Your situation might be different, but personally, I rather put my money in property. It's a very good vehicle.
Absolutely. Just another quick question for Sean, which is, I think, rounding off Cradle Ridge, is again tying up to that conversation about building being a tedious process. What is the construction life stage? Or how long does it take for a house to be built and all of that stuff?
So Nicolette, basically, so before the stand register, for clients bought a stand with a building package, obviously the plans must first be submitted to HIA for approval. So once that is done, the stand register, so even before the time, they can then submit the plans to Mogale, the municipality, for final approval. Then as soon as the stand is registered, the building can start the builder can start with the building process. So to be safe, it all depends on the size and the locality of the stand, if it slopes a lot or not. To be safe, we will say anything between 6 to, let's say, 9-10 months. There can be rain delays, there can be shortage of steel or bricks or whatever. So just to be safe, 6 to 9 months. So obviously, the builder wants his money, so he's not going to delay the process, firstly. And secondly, you don't want someone to build within 3 months. You want a good quality home. So that gives the builder enough time to make the house properly built.
Thank you so much, Sean. Marius, just a quick one. Madison Manor at Waterfall, is it part of the 99-year lease?
Luckily not. So Madison Manor at Waterfall is located on the original Waterfall farm that used to stretch from Halfway Gardens down to Woodmead, including Sunny Hill and Kyalami. But our development luckily does not form part of that 99-year lease.
All right. Thank you so much, Marius, for really just indulging us on the Sunday morning. We really do appreciate your time. If maybe you may, a couple of last tips for anybody that is still listening, in terms of property as an asset, in terms of property as a wealth building asset, any type of tips that you would love to give us right now?
So earlier you asked that we let our thoughts go towards how can somebody start in property. Even a youngster, I was thinking of my gardener. My gardener, obviously, he does piece job for me, and he doesn't earn a lot because he does it for a lot of other people. He has no credit record. But based on our chats, he has taken some sheet metal from my yard that I was throwing away, and he built onto his shack extra rooms, and he's renting it out. So he followed my advice. He started in a property in a way, so to say. Home loans is not accessible to him, but he made a plan, and I think that spirit is critical. He grasped the understanding that he can derive almost a passive income from putting down an asset that is useful for accommodation for somebody. And if you are able, if you're not able to secure a home loan, it's not accessible to you, then do something. Go to your township where you are familiar with your community. Maybe there is a lady that is selling her RDP house, and you can make a deal with her, and you can secure that RDP house for the 30, 40, 50,000 rand and rent it out. Get started and build your credit record. Let the money go through your bank account. I know you want to avoid SARS, but unfortunately, it's the rule of the land, the law of the land. So pay your tax, because if you build up that turnover in your bank account over time, at some stage in the future, you might be able to qualify for a loan, and then you can start getting into formal property ownership. I invest in formal property ownership in the estates that we develop and rent it out. And that I would encourage you, let your mind go and think about the power of owning property. It is really one of the critical cornerstones of wealth creation.
Thank you so much, Marius. I think the message is quite clear. There is start where you are so that you may find your way into the more formal spaces of property. But please remember, do not sell or buy an illegal RDP that is not been owned for more than 8 years, because then you're getting into trouble.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah,
all right. You've got one more question for Sean, coming in from Uyolanda. She says, quick question, are estates allowed to sell stands before attaining the residential zoning certificate from the municipality? Mind you, they are selling to create a housing estate. And secondly, what is a certificate of occupation?
So basically, we as Central Developments has went through the whole process to be able to build here. So Magali won't issue our certificates, is normally a Section 82. So we can't start building. They also send building inspectors to make sure, all our certificates are in place and stuff like that. So obviously, because of our reputation, we won't try to take shortcuts, because then we won't be able to sell as well if all our stuff is not in place.
All right. And then, so you need to, so that's, you're talking to the zoning issue, right? So zoned to be able to build residential property.
That's correct. Yeah. So as a builder, you have to go through the whole process. It all depends if you're building apartments, if it's sectional title, if it's full title. So through the municipality, your zoning, everything must be in place. We've done services, so that's the main thing. Services like your sewage and your water and electricity, all of that must be in place before you can start building. That's why we advise to buy from a reputable developer.
All right.
my
And
way-
Sean, what are your